welcome back to this Forewarned Storm Team special presentation. You know, southern Oklahoma is, of course, home to a lot of friendly folks and some of the state's best leisure spots, but it's also no stranger
Going to call the meeting to order at 5:32. If you would pray with me. Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to serve our community. Father God, we know that it's a blessing, and we know that you're in it. Father God, I ask that you just give us the grace and wisdom to do it well. In the name of Jesus, I ask. Amen. If you would join us in flag salute. Call roll, please.
Drew Jackson.
Here.
Clinton Horner. Shane Knight.
Here.
Whitney Kerr. Here.
Moving on to order business consent items. Consider approval of regular minutes as of May 3rd.
I make a motion to approve.
I can't second that because I wasn't here, so.
I guess I'll second that. Having approved, move to administration. 4A, consider appointment of chairperson.
Make a motion to approve Drew Jackson as the chairperson.
Second.
I saw that coming. Having approved, we'll move to item 4B, consider appointment of vice chairperson.
I make a motion to approve the appointment of Shane Knight as the vice chairperson.
I'll second. Four C, discussion, consideration, possible action on amending section of Chapter 150 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Durant, Oklahoma. Ms. O'Neill.
As of last month, we had this item on here, and it was tabled to this month with some questions that came from the Planning Commission as far as why we were going with 2015 instead of 2018, and some of the appendices. Staff was able to kind of look everything over and decided that we would go with the 2018, and we was going to go as close in line with the state as we could. That meant that everything would be 2018 except for the National Electrical Code, which would be 2017, and then the 2015 International Residential Code. Regarding the appendices, most of the appendices, when we did take out the we did leave the appendices out that were already excluded, mostly because we have those in other codes. So like in the IRC and the IBC, those are covered in the plumbing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why those were removed. The gas piping was taken out as well, as that is covered in the fuel gas code. The housing maintenance was removed, since that is something that is something that we actually didn't find until recently, and we don't use that any longer. In fact, we've put in the 2015 International Property Maintenance Code, which is what is being trained now with our code enforcement officers across Oklahoma, and that's what Oklahoma also uses. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Mark Pierce is also here, who's our interim building inspector, to help answer questions.
I don't have any questions, and I know I brought up those questions last time, so thank you for answering those. I did look through that, and I think that's excluding those appendices in the back of those is the right thing to do, because it doesn't cover, or it covers stuff that you've already got covered. And I don't know that this is necessarily under Planning and Zoning Commission's wheelhouse, but I did look up the International Fire Code, which I know is in another section of our ordinances, not our section 150.
Correct.
And so I'm just putting this out there as a reference or as some information, but nowhere else in the ordinance does it state the publication date or what year of the International Fire Code we're following. And that may be perfectly fine. I just wanted to bring that up, that it just says we follow the International Fire Code.
That may be covered under the fire department also.
It is, but
Yes.
it doesn't list the year. Yeah.
Right,
So
and it
that's-
does not.
I just thought I'd bring that up so that
Yeah,
you can,
staff realized that as well, and we talked with the city attorney, and he stated that the way the ordinance was drafted, and that ordinance was probably done a long time ago, but management and the city attorney both decided that having the year was needed, and
Okay.
not just having it to where it was just, we adopted the code.
okay,
So it was decided to go that route.
okay. And I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I
didn't-
appreciate
I didn't
it.
think it was under our wheelhouse or authority, but
Right.
I just wanted to bring
Yeah.
that comment up.
I make a motion to approve the amendments to Chapter 150 of the Building Regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Durant.
I'll second.
You have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please. The item was approved. We'll move to the public hearing portion. As I understand it, 5A of the application has been withdrawn, so we'll move to 5B, discussion, consideration, possible action of PC 2022-16, replat for South 12th in Texas. Ms. O'Neill.
And you are correct that the applicant did withdraw his application. For this one, the applicant has brought forth a replat to staff. They were in the process of looking to sell the houses that are existing on the lot, and discovered that there was actually 2 lots with 4 houses on them. And so they came to us to get the replat. The original lots are platted as Lot 1 was originally 60 feet by 150 feet, and Lot 2 was originally platted as 115 by 150 feet. This is an area town where this is kind of the original town site. The homes are existing. They were built, according to the county assessor, around 1960s, somewhere mid to late 60s. So that was prior to having our subdivision ordinances the way at all, probably. Most subdivision ordinances didn't come into play in Oklahoma is probably until the 80s, 90s era. The applicant, as I stated, wanted to have 4 lots the way the houses are now. In your packets, you do kind of have the layout of where the houses currently are, with what the layout that they are asking for. Should be noted that the lots that they're asking for do not meet the requirements on all fronts regarding the setbacks and the lot sizes, et cetera. They do have an application to go before the Board of Adjustment, pending the outcome of the Planning Commission and City Council. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Staff did sign off on this with a contingent of approval from the Board of Adjustment as well, should the Planning Commission and City Council decide to approve the plat.
When did the current owner purchase this property, and in what form was it in at the time?
I am not sure when the current owner would purchased it. He'd have to answer that, but the houses were built in the 1960s. So I would assume that probably, and I'm not even sure when those lots existed, because it is just original town site, and the map that we had showed 1970s. So, and obviously the houses were there prior to that, but I'm not sure when the actual plat was approved. We don't have record of that. But I'll let the current owner answer as far as when he purchased it.
If you would, please come to the microphone and state your name for us. Thank you.
My name is Michael Sawyer, and I currently own the properties at 12th and Texas. I bought those houses June of 2016. There were at one time 5 houses on that property. The one on the corner was demolished, I'm sure, many years ago before I purchased it. I was not aware when I did purchase them that they were 2 lots. I thought there were 4 separate lots. I went back to the original abstract. I have those back from 1901 when they were established. And those houses have been bought and sold, as you probably assume, many times over the years. I'm in the rental business and currently a real estate agent. And I've decided just to wash my hands of this. It's a good time to do it. But I do have them listed. I have currently had them all listed and have potential buyers. They're all under contract to sell pending your approval. And that's one of the problems that I've run into, is that I can't sell them individually without the replat. And they're great homes. I've remodeled and upgraded all of them, and they're great properties. And we've cleaned the neighborhood up, and that area used to be extremely bad. And it's, I maintain the houses and the properties myself, just to make sure that they stay up and I don't get any letters or anything like that. So that's really why I'm here, is just so I can be able to sell those houses individually as opposed to having to sell them as a group. I have tried to sell them all to one individual. It just hasn't worked out. I haven't been able to do that. But individual homes, they're in that part of town and they're in the price range that is very, people really want that price range of home currently. And so that's why I'm trying to do that.
I think you probably answered the question that I was going to ask. I know you expressed that you have had interest in that. Are any of the 4 planned to be sold together?
No, I have individual contracts on all 4 of them, 3 of them. One of them is not the one that's, there's the empty lot, and the one next to it is one that I have not updated in any way. And of course, that's the one that's not selling, but I intended, after I had it surveyed, that house would go with the empty lot next door to help accommodate some of the square footage requirements.
Any further questions?
And that's the one on the corner?
Yes, sir. There's not a house currently on the corner. It's the one next to it that's
Right.
actually on 12th Street.
Whitney, did you have any questions for him? Thank you, appreciate it. Any discussion?
I mean, I have lots of notes on this one, because I've been trying to figure out the best path forward for Mr. LaSawyer and for the city.
Curious, did you happen to drive out there and look at it?
Yes.
I did too. The thoughts that I had before I went out there were a little bit different after I drove
Yeah.
and looked at it. On one hand, I hated to create any sort of, precedence, by having non-conforming lots, et cetera. In the same breath, I'm also at a little bit of a loss on how to address the issue with fairness to the current owner. So, outside of what's proposed.
I agree, and I thought, there are some things that, if this is something that we wanted to approve, then I think we could get some different lot dimensions and get a little bit closer to what R2 requires. In R2, we require at least a 60-foot frontage, and if you think about the ones facing Texas Street, so there's 3 lots. Well, and I know the corner lot could go either way, but there are 3 lots facing Texas that are proposed to be 63 feet and some change wide.
Right.
And if each of those were made to be 60 feet, then we'd end up with the lot to the west being 55 feet, which is closer to the 60-foot requirement.
Right.
But, so I went through all these different scenarios on how this could be divided up to get us closer to what current R2 zoning requires. I think there's some questionable building setback lines that are drawn on the proposed survey. And as I kept digging into what those options may be, it all just came back to, it seems like we're creating so much more of a hardship for anyone in the future if we divide these. So, I mean, we're going from 2 quote-unquote non-conforming lots, because there's single-family homes on two single-family homes on one lot. So I know that doesn't meet current ordinance, but dividing these into 4 non-conforming, what happens in 10 years when someone tears down a house and wants to build another one and they can't get a permit, or they can't get a variance to build back because their lots are way too small?
So, the staff went and obviously did kind of looking at the plat, and part of the issue is because there are existing houses there.
Right.
Now, if it was greenfield, it'd be a whole lot easier, but obviously that's not the case we're in. So some of these setbacks and the build lines that are there, there's not a whole lot that we can wiggle with them just because of the existing houses. If they did get approved through the Board of Adjustment, then you know, as of right now, if we'd left it at 2 lots, we'll start there first. So if we left it at 2 lots, it would be considered non-conforming. They would have to sell them as is, which I don't know how real estate that would work or not work, or if there's how that would work. But as far as legally, from the state and from city ordinance-wise, it's 2 legal lots. The question then becomes as far as where those houses land on those 2, on that existing lot line. And that I'm not completely sure of, to be honest. The drawing that you guys have, there it is. So that lot 1 is, what is it, 60 feet. Let's see. So that would be 3 foot into what's being proposed as lot 1B. So it would include the house that's on the corner and that kind of side yard, if you will. And then it would include the house that's behind it. And then it would, and I'm not sure where that line is comparable to, let's see if I don't have that other drawing. Okay. That's a little better. And we still may have some setback issues if we just left it with 2, but again, it would be non-conforming. And then the other lot would be, if we left it as is, would be those 2 houses to the west. So if we left it as is, that's the way it would be. By dividing them up, obviously it would require it to go to Board of Adjustment. Like I said, that's already in the process of being done.
But not to interrupt, but
No, go ahead.
Board of Adjustment is really going to give them variance on their setbacks, correct? I mean,
As the setbacks and the lot frontage on one of them, and, because one of the lot frontage on 2B is at 47.65 feet.
right.
And so that's something that they'll have to address, as well as the front build line for lot 2B. For lot 2A, it would just be the front setback. Lot 1B would be the front setback. It's listed as 12 feet, and the requirement's 25 feet. And then the rear is shown as 15 feet with a requirement of 20. And then lot 1A, the front build line, the front setback as a 12 feet, requirement's 15. Again, those setbacks aren't, regardless, they're going to have to, with it being non-conforming, they could leave it as is, but if they ever decided to do anything with it, that would have to be addressed. And then the exterior of lot 1A.
So let's say 10 years from now, one of these houses a tree falls on it and they have to demolish it. And the new owner wants to build back. Are they able to build back based on the variances that get approved in 2022? Or do they have to, since they're going to be building new or rebuilding, I mean, do these variances live with the lot for the life of the lot? Or is this just for this house that's on here because it's non-conforming already? That may be a Whitney question, I don't know.
I'll let Whitney take a stab at it. Well, I'll take a stab at it and Whitney can correct me, but I'm fairly certain that the variances go with the property. It doesn't go with the house.
I was actually going to disagree with you. I think
Oh,
they go
okay.
with the house.
Okay.
Because part of the issue is, well, it depends on how much of it is destroyed. If all of it is destroyed and you're starting from scratch, then you're going to have to go through the process all over again to
Correct.
get the new variances.
True, very true, yes.
If you're doing repairs up to a percentage, then the variance may go with it. So it
Correct.
depends on how widespread that destruction is.
That's true, and it's
Would that not
50%.
fall under the 50% rule
Yes,
for reconstruction?
yes, that's correct. You are right, Whitney, I was wrong, I'm sorry.
It just, and I'm still a little uncertain on this at the moment, but I feel like we're going from two non-conforming situations, and I know that homes were built in the 60s and probably not even permits pulled back then, I don't know. But I feel like we're going from two non-conforming issues, but lots that could be utilized in conformance with the ordinances at some point in the future to creating 4 real messes.
That is a potential, I mean, to be honest. So,
This is going maybe a bit of a dovetail, but it seems like if we're going to make this conforming, it would almost need to be replatted into a single lot and have a PUD for the 4 to be on there, but it still wouldn't meet setbacks.
I don't believe it would even meet, let me look.
I guess it wouldn't meet acreage though, would it?
No, it would not. There's no way to doing a planned unit development on this.
Right.
So, yeah, we could, I guess the options would be either to leave it with the 2 lots the way they are and have them be non-conforming. Because technically they would be legal non-conforming because we don't have any of the regulations prior. And to staff's best knowledge and research has been done, there was no ordinances regarding the subdivision or things like that back in the 60s. Really, planning and zoning really didn't come about until, well, really started in the 60s, but didn't really get to Oklahoma until about the 80s or 90s, is what best I could tell, in some smaller towns anyway.
Oh, yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
So Sawyer, did you buy these 4 together?
Yes, sir. And in
Sorry, would you come to the mic, please? Thank you.
I bought them all together, but going back and looking the abstracts up from 1901 until now, those houses have been sold multiple times from different owners and different, purchasers and sellers over a period of since the 1960s. So they have been sold, but I believe I bought them from my father, and they were all together. And prior to him, they were together, but before that, they were sold individually as houses. So they've all had different owners over the period of time that they've been there.
Thanks. Whitney, can I solicit some comments from you?
Well, I'm troubled by this because on one hand we have a policy of encouraging people to use their property in the most beneficial way to them. We try not to restrict property usage as much as possible. But I'm kind of in the same place with Shane. We're about to take a situation that's not conforming and is already not great and make it twice as bad by adding 4 lots instead of 2. And I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, in the future, at some point, there's going to be issues where these houses either are destroyed, need significant remodels, and they're having to come back through City Hall, and they're gonna have to go through this process every single time. Because, I mean, it's not in conformance. So on one hand, it is not beneficial to the applicant to have 2 lots and 4 houses on these 2 lots, but on the other hand, it's not really beneficial to the city or the code or our way of doing things to have 4 lots. I mean, I think we're making a problem much worse. But at the same time, I do feel bad for the applicant because it's through no fault of his own. It's just the property, the way the property is at this point. So it's kind of it's not a great situation.
Do you see an alternative solution outside of what's presented? And my concern is exactly what you stated. I don't want to create a bigger issue, yet I certainly, can relate with the owner.
I'm not, and I will say, part of this too assumes that even if we were to approve it, that what he needs to do gets past the Board of Adjustment. And I will say, I mean, just kind of in general, my impression right now, and I don't go to the meetings, it's not like I spend a lot of time looking at what the Board of Adjustment is doing, but my understanding and impression is that as hardcore as we are about trying to crack down on policy, the Board of Adjustment is about that much higher, and they're not granting variances for much. So to be quite honest, I have serious doubts that even if they got this through us, I have real doubts they're gonna get that through the Board of Adjustment, so.
Sure, come on up.
One of the things that's also, and that you say that you're creating a different problem, at least going forward, they'd have that knowledge. Currently, you don't. Now, the way that the taxes are on that property, all 4 houses are on one property tax form. They're not even split into 2. So there's not 2 houses on one lot and 2, they're all on one together. So currently, even the tax situation isn't at the best. So that's another issue that I'm facing, is that even if I do that, we're gonna have to figure out that tax situation as well. But, the only thing I can say is that, yeah, this would be helpful to me, but in the future, it seems like it would also be beneficial to whoever purchases it in the future. They know what their requirements are going forward. These houses are existing, and yes, at some time in the future, they probably will be demolished or taken down, but whoever has that or acquires it will at least have the knowledge of what they can or cannot put on it prior to doing it, instead of like right now, these requirements go back to the 60s, and I have no way of changing those ordinances going forward. But going backwards, but going forward, you would have that knowledge to do that.
Yeah, and I'll make a personal comment. I certainly understand the difficulty that you face.
Sure.
And, I'm wanting to find a solution. Wanting to find it within the rules that that we have for the city too. So
Sure.
that's what discussion about it. I can promise you we understand what you're facing and care about it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pierce, do you have any comments?
I'm probably going to repeat myself on some level, but in thinking about what Whitney just said about the variance board or Board of Adjustment, I forget what they're called now, Board of Adjustment. So I do watch most of those meetings, a lot of them, but most of them. And they did just turn down, within the last few months, someone trying to build something on a smaller lot here, and I don't even remember what part of town it was, but someone was trying to build a single family or a duplex, or I think they were trying to build a duplex, and the only thing that they would have been allowed to build there would be a small single family, and the variance board said no. So my hesitation with approving the four lots is there's nothing that could be built on these 4 lots if we were to go by what our ordinances say. And so we're creating, I mean, if we go by the rules, we're creating 4 non-buildable lots.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, well, based on street frontage and square footage.
Yeah, because that street frontage is a big problem, especially the Lot 2B piece of it. The rest of them seem to be the setbacks. I didn't mark anything down on each one did meet the first single-family home, did meet the square footage. But
not the frontage.
one of them didn't meet the frontage.
Yeah, the one that faces 12.
Yeah, that Lot 2B does not. The rest of them do, and they all meet the square footage. And it's just the setbacks, which, I mean, if the house is demolished, then that's potentially possible. Depending on, I mean, it wouldn't probably be the same side of the house that's built there, obviously, but.
My fear is we're potentially creating lots that at some point in the future, someone's not going to be able to build on, depending on whoever's sitting in these seats or Board of Adjustment or whoever that may be.
Right.
And then we've got a real issue on our hands. And someone's going to be sitting here saying, well, you should have known that before you bought the lot. Well, yeah, but, you know, same scenario here. I mean, to no fault of Mr. Sawyer, I'm not, but I think we're doubling our problems. I think there's a way out of the issue now in the future with having 2 conforming size lots. I don't think there's a way out of this issue in the future if we split it into 4. I've probably said that enough times in enough ways that everybody knows what I feel.
Drew, did we ask if there was anybody else here for or against this?
Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against?
I'm for. Okay.
You need my name? It's my first time here, okay. Clay Cecil, and I represent the buyer of one of these houses. So I'm just here to support Mike. I've been working with this guy for about 1.5 years trying to get a house for him. And he's got a lower budget FHA loan, so it takes a higher caliber of house, but he's got a lower budget. So Mike's house fit the criteria. Got it for him. Single dad. He's got a daughter, just him and her. And he's a really good guy. And I'm just trying to get him into the city. He would be a good person for the city, a good person for that neighborhood. So I'm just here to advocate for the buyer.
Yep, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks, Whitney. Any other discussion?
I guess the only thing that I would ask is with the properties in the current state that they're in with their non-conforming, either way you look at it, what is, from your perspective, going forward, you know, the houses could be there for the next 20 years, the next 50 years, and they could be wiped away by a tornado tomorrow. But for current times right now, again, I'm repeating myself, you know, going into this, whoever bought, just like you had just said with the smaller lot, the person wanted to build a house and could not build it because the city denied it. If someone tried to do that now, at least they'd have that knowledge and wouldn't have already invested and put out funds and everything to create that property. And so they would have to seek another property. But these properties already exist, and if one of them were to go up, at least the person coming in would know beforehand that they could not do that, and then would change their option to go somewhere else.
Mr. Sawyer, I think the concern is that someone would come in the same position that you were, so saying that they bought one of the houses knowing that it needed to be demolished, they might purchase a property and then find out that they needed permits that they couldn't obtain. So I think that's the concern, if I'm not misstating it, is that someone could potentially come into the same unawareness that you did.
Well, the only thing that I could say in defense of that is that the abstracts would be brought up, and if someone was purchasing the land, they would have the abstracts, and prior to buying that property, that would all go before, you know, the abstract, then title company would ensure that before they would even sell the property to them. It's currently kind of like it is right now.
If they obtained the abstract and if they use the same title company and if those were discovered, so there's a number of ifs.
Sure.
I think, you know, you've been in the business long
Yes.
enough, I've heard your name long enough, you know, there's a lot of transactions that happen without an abstract being you know, brought up.
Well, you know,
Well,
and
let me ask you a question. You got these in 2018, correct?
no, I bought them in 2016, I believe.
Okay. And you referenced your dad. Was this a family transfer?
Yes,
Okay.
warranty.
So, I mean, part of my concern is, and I understand what you're telling me, and I understand you coming in and saying, hey, I didn't have notice, I didn't know about this, but truthfully, these ordinances would have been in place in 2016, and what Mr. Jackson's really getting at is anytime you've got a buyer to the property, there's nobody that's gonna sit down with that buyer and say, hey, here's all the rules and restrictions on this property. The buyer, whoever that may be, has the duty to go out and do the research before they invest significant
I
funds
agree
in the
with you.
property.
I agree with you.
And so, I mean, I understand what you're telling me, and I don't get me wrong, nobody does that. I mean, quite honestly, I'm a lawyer by profession, and nobody does what they're supposed to do, but when they're buying property, it's usually the lawyers that are screaming, oh my God, what are you doing? And the people are off like, oh, this is great, and they're like, no, it's not. But the problem is, I mean, you're coming in the same position that we're, you know, for you, you're coming in the same position that whoever is sitting on this board is gonna see somebody coming in 20 years, 10 years, whatever, and it's gonna be the same story as, hey, I didn't know, I didn't look this up. And we're gonna, you know, whoever the board is at that point is gonna have the same, it's your responsibility to look it up before you invest in the property. And so, I don't wanna be cold-hearted,
No,
you know, I don't wanna tell you that, you know, this is what it is, but at the same time, you're asking us to shift the rules that were there when you bought the property in 2016. And so, I mean, the issue is, I mean, can we fix this problem for you without creating a much bigger problem going forward? Because honestly, at one point in time, I would say the city of Durant, this board had a policy of, hey, as long as we're not making people mad, it doesn't matter what happens in the future. But that hasn't been the policy in a good period of time. I mean, we've really shifted the position to, let's do this right the first time. And so that's what troubles me, is I understand what you're saying. I do have sympathy for your position because, you know, you're sitting on a place where there were 5 houses at one point, and you're being told you have to sell these as 2 pieces of property because that's the way it's divided up. I don't know that we can fix that for you. I mean, that's the discussion we're having, is can we fix that problem without creating a bigger issue? And from the city's perspective, I don't know that we can. And that's what troubles me.
Splitting them up is the only way that, and the rezoning was the only way that I knew to move forward to try to correct the situation. You being an attorney, is there, you know, each, in the state of Oklahoma, each parcel, it has to have a parcel to be able to sell the real estate. That's my problem, is not necessarily how they're divided. I could care less about that. It's more, how do I sell that house? How do I get that piece of property through? You know, if it's not through rezoning, then how? So I can, you know, I've got 3 first-time home buyers that are interested in buying these houses and have had contracts on them, you know, since March. And so I'm just trying to find a way to move forward. If not this, then what? Is there a way to do it? Because I think even looking at the way that the plans and the lots are drawn out, they're non-conforming. So even to sell 2 of them together on one of the lots, I can't even do that. because one of them, I think, drifts over into another parcel. So even if they were to remain the same, there's no way to sell two of them together and two of them together.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Did you mean to say that one of the houses crosses over
I
one of
believe
the
looking
existing
at
lot lines?
like on, I don't know, I can't see the numbers, but the top left, the two on Texas Street, those cross over into another lot. So if, back up here.
Do the original lots mimic lot 7 and 8 below that?
No.
The 115 and the
So
60?
so that lot that's right there at Texas and 12, that's 63 feet. The original lot was 60. So you take 3 feet off of that lot and you have the other lot 2 that was originally platted.
Excuse me, the one to the west of that is 115. So there was a 60 and then a 115 by just deduction.
60 is on the corner.
60 is on the corner.
115 is page left of that. Yeah,
If I can subtract, that's right.
yeah.
So I do understand what you're saying. I mean, I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to figure a way without purchasing them the way that I did, because the values increased significantly in those properties. And, you know, I paid $49,000 for all of them, and they're each selling for 128 to 118. So there's a big difference in what
And
I
I
could
certainly recognize
purchase.
that profitability is better as individuals than a group as well. so.
Well, of course, yes, it is. But even trying, you know, I had a contract for all of them together at one time, and that fell through, but that was, you know, just an original case. But the way that they're drawn out and the way that we're going to go forward, since those lots drift over, I can't even sell 2 and 2 because those lots don't, I mean, they don't line up to the way I would have to sell them parcel-wise with the state.
Without seeing how they fall with the current lots, I wouldn't be able to speak to how that could be replatted. I mean, without some sort of overlay.
I'm not seeing it, I guess. I don't know what I'm missing.
So, Daniel, let me ask you a question, and maybe you can clarify that. At least when I look at this, and if I'm looking at 60 feet, it looks like the two houses that are closest to 12th Street would fall into lot, I don't know, lot.
One.
One lot, and then the other two houses fall into the other lot. So are any of the houses on the actual dividing lot line?
Not that I can tell unless
I think,
Unless the house
Two
is
on
on the
Texas.
corner no, because that's on one lot. The two that face Texas are on one lot together.
There's 3 on Texas, so for clarification, which
Right,
ones are we
lot 3
looking
is
at?
is already,
I'm not talking about lots, I'm talking about the houses.
the houses the house faces 12. It does not face Texas.
Here.
yeah, the corner lot actually has an address of 301.
I got you, thanks.
So the two houses that's facing Texas are actually on one lot, the original plat.
Yeah.
And then the two that face 12 are an original plat. Now, where that 3 feet is and how close that would be to the house, that would be the only question that might exist.
Well, based on this drawing, it
Not
looks
very-
like there would be
yeah,
sufficient.
Not very close according to the survey.
Right.
So
And I
you
will
would,
say
I
if-
guess you would have the benefit of, you know, if you were to sell the lots, 2 would be on each lot. So you'd have the benefit of selling and profiting from 2 for the price of, right?
Yeah, I could find a buyer.
For the price of 2 houses.
Well,
Am I?
I get what you're saying, yes.
Okay.
And if you guys choose to deny, and let's say council denies, we're just gonna forecast the future, and I cannot forecast the future, so, just putting that out there. But if this is denied overall, then these 2 lots would be considered 2 non-conforming lots.
Right. But that doesn't prevent the real estate sale in one way or another.
It should not, there may have to have new legals drawn up, because the way the legals, houses 4 houses initially on the initial legal. It's not the actual legal according to what the plat shows, but I don't know how that transpires, but.
And I think, not to talk about worst-case scenarios, but say we keep the lots the way they are, the homes are the way they are. One of the houses, a truck runs through and gets demolished. That house is not gonna be able to be built back.
Correct.
But we have that same potential if we divide it into 4 lots.
Yeah, if they didn't meet the requirements and they weren't able to meet the setbacks and all that, yeah, that's
Yeah.
potential.
Any further discussion? Call for a motion.
I make a motion to deny.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please. I was waiting for that, waiting on Shane here. Mr. Sawyer, I do want to let you know that this commission is a recommending board. City Council has final authority, which will meet a week from today at 5:30 or 6? At 6 o'clock. The item was denied 5C. I believe, so it's discussion, consideration, and possible action, PC 2022-17. And I believe that it has been requested to take no action due to publication.
Correct. There's a publication error, and due to that, we'll have to republish, and it'll come back in July. So we're requesting that no action be taken so we can get that properly done.
Okay, so we'll take no action. 6, new business.
None?
I did have one thing that I wanted to bring up. Mr. Keener served, I believe, on this commission for 15 years, and Board of Adjustment prior to that. I would like to do something in terms of showing gratitude. I know we got mixed up on what month that would expire, but whether that be as simple as a card or a luncheon or an appreciation from council, however we want to do that. If we could bring that up to council as I think we should do something.
Okay. I'll see what I can find out.
Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.